Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you all here. Oh, let me turn that off. There we go. Welcome you all here on behalf of Ormond McGill. I'd like to open with Eulogy.
Thank you, Jack. Well, hello, everybody. Hi, my goodness. I think we have to learn to create parties like this with people still in body. I know that Ormond is here, of course, but my gosh, would he have liked to stand on the stage right now? And I'm so sorry it's me. I'm so sorry it's me. Welcome, everybody, from the stage hypnosis community, from the magic community, from the hypnotherapy community, from even the shell community, from the butterfly community, from the postage stamp community, from the post office, Ormond's barber, Ormond's banker, Ormond's doctor, Ormond's close friends, and Ormond's family. And if I forgot a category, please forgive me. I can't keep up with them ever. So I would like to start with reading a little section of Ormond's own autobiography where he talks about concluding my autobiography and that he has too much to do still. I'm not ready to pass onwards yet. This is Ormond at 90, and he was 92 this month, in June this year. I'm not ready to pass onwards yet. Too much to do. Somehow passing onwards seems more accurate than the conventional way of stating that a person who has died has passed away. The fact is, nothing in the universe passes away. It changes, but it does not pass away. The entire universe, and that includes you and me, is constantly subjected to the state of change. Yet it is always here. Life and death are like that. Time marches on, and I just turned 90. I suppose that makes me an old man, but honestly, I don't feel like an old man at all. People often ask me how it feels to be an old man at 90. Frankly, I scarcely know what they mean. I don't feel a bit different inside myself than I did at 39, as Jack Benny used to say. Age is pretty much an attitude of mind. Think young and you stay young. Outside the body can get a bit creaky. It takes longer to pick things up when they drop on the floor. The legs are not as fleet as once they were, but inside you're as young as you feel. To me, so-called old age is great, the best years of my life. As Maurice Chevalier expressed in the movie Gigi, I am glad I am not young anymore, as there is no more aggravation. How true that is. The stress and strain of younger years filled with ambition to do this or that is gone, and you feel fine. At 90 years, I can just be myself. It's great. The genius Charles Steinmetz made the statement, man's next frontier, even greater than this exploration of outer space, will be the exploration of his inner space, the realm of mind. In relation to my autobiography, I have currently given attention to the study of this frontier. It is a continual effort without effort, day in and day out, and even some at night, that keeps me continuously busy appreciating the miracle of existence. I have condensed various concentration and consciousness advancement exercises into ready performance. I have found these useful to myself. Also, I have presented them as exercises that others who are of such interest can find them easily performable and useful to themselves. That, of course, is entirely up to the individual. And then he goes on, how nice it will be to rejoin the light. The exploration of our inner space provides quite enough to keep me busy before I make the transition. When will that be? I have not the slightest idea. I suppose it will be when I have completed what I have to complete on this 3D planet. I have many dear friends who are still here with me. Even more have already made the transition to the other side. Slight difference, as the other side and this side are paper thin between. So how nice it will be to rejoin Delight. Delight is Ormond's wife, who passed on 30 years ago. They were very close. However, there is no hurry, as there is no time in eternity. as to what adventures lie ahead for me, so I can write an additional chapter to my autobiography. Your crystal ball is as good as mine in such regard. Why try to spoil the fun by guessing what new adventures lie ahead? Just let them happen on their own by less and less trying to make things happen, and more just letting things happen. As Buddha puts it so bluntly, nothing needs to be done. So in concluding my autobiography, up to date, I sincerely say, may the pursuing of my life story have value to the pursuing of your own. Ormond McGill, 2003. So welcome everybody. This is obviously intended to be a celebration of Ormond's life. We are all sad for the right reasons, and we're all rejoicing in 92 years of a heck of a lot of living. So what I'd like to do to start the connected part and the universal and the cosmic part of this celebration this afternoon, I would like you to have in your own way a prayer for Ormond in silence. So you can have a moment with Ormond in your own way as we start the celebration this afternoon. Thank you. Thousands of rose petals, thousands of snowflakes, thousands of butterflies surrounding your funeral pile as you ascend into the realm of angels where you belong so vividly. Thousands of angels welcoming you and applauding, giving you that one more standing ovation to welcome you in their realm. Now you get to be with your delight. Take her to dances in that cosmos that is so vast, where you can dance everywhere. Now you can be with your Patanjali, who will roam with you through the universe. Vast, way, 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 way up. Ormond, just dance, just dance. Remember, like Shiva, way up in your higher realms. And please rest a bit before there's more to do. And enjoy this afternoon. We all love you. I'm singing a Sufi song. Sufi being a connectedness of people of all religions and all faith and all friendships. You can join me because it's very simple, except for the little part that's in the Sufi language. All I want from you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I want from you is forever to remember me as loving you. Iskhana mahabut leila, iskhana mahabut leila. Iskhana mahabut leila, iskhana mahabut leila. All I want from you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I want from you is forever to remember me as loving you. Okay. So at this point, I would like to open to the actual celebration, because Ormond always said, let's get on with it. Let's not drag it out, let's get on with it. He liked his timing. So I'm trying very hard to stay in the timing. What I'd like to do is thank Ormond's nephew, Michael, in the back of the room, for being one of the organizers of this event, and his family and friends contributing, and thank his close friend Chuck McNosa of the other leg of this organization of this great event, these two gentlemen. And here is Chuck McNosa, who is going to be your master of ceremonies this afternoon. Please enjoy it all in the name of our dear Ormond McGorman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you this afternoon, but in the spirit of Ormond, we are not here. We are not here to mourn. We are here to have fun. Take a look at that picture. Now, come on. See, he really enjoyed life. But the interesting thing is he always opened his shows with one particular thing because it kind of brought the audience together. And with your permission, and yours, I'd like to do it for you. Let me see. It involves imagination. You can imagine that. Of course, of course. And it involves a native container. Yes. Now, Ormond loved the South Sea Islands, and he said to go to the South Sea Islands you needed money, but in the South Sea Islands money was everywhere. You just use your imagination. You reached up and you found a coin. Can you see the coin? Let's see. Imagination. There's another coin right there. Can you see that coin? Let's see. Would you like to see them? Now that's imagination. There's one, there's two. Now to get a coin, all you do is wiggle your finger and there's a coin right there. Isn't that interesting? Just another coin. Sometimes you can pass the coin right through the bottom of the bucket. Watch. There's another coin right over there. Can you see it over there? It's right there. I'll tell you what, we'll toss the coin in the air. Here it goes. 1, 2, right up into the air, coming right down. Tell me, ma'am, do you always keep your money there? And sir, right here behind the ear, and there's another one right over here. Yeah, so and she has one right here. That's you people keep money in strange places here. It's amazing. It's amazing. She has one right over here behind. Oh yes, that's a good one, and she has one over there. Oh, everybody has a lot of money tonight, I can tell. Here we go, my dear. There's one right there. Yes, and she has one right here. Sir, would you mind standing up?
Oh, sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, see, there's one right there that you're sitting on. I'll take that one. Right. Well, you know, you never know. Yeah, there's one right here by this lovely lady right here. And, sir, would you mind standing up? Thank you very much for volunteering. Please go up on the stage there.
I'm going to interject for a minute. This is a category I hadn't mentioned. This is the Creamery of Palo Alto. Ormond has milkshakes since 1923, and when Rob was not alive yet.
Yeah. Now, sir, do you know why I chose you?
I couldn't even imagine.
Now, I chose you because you have an honest face. Would you mind holding the bucket? At a moment, I'm going to ask you to blow, not sneeze into the bucket. You do know the difference between blowing and sneezing?
I do know that.
Okay, good. In just a moment. 1, 2, 3. Just blow into the bucket. Just a little bit. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay.
I feel better already.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Sir, when you were walking up here, I noticed something. Do you mind if I expose it to everybody? Please hold the bucket in the other hand there. Yes, it was right here on your hip, and I don't understand exactly what it is. Thank you very much.
That's to make milkshakes.
That's to make milkshakes with. Oh, Rob, are you a married man or is this your lunch? I'll put it on ice. Thank you. And yes, Rob is the wonderful man who has created the, or is about to create, out of due pressure, the Ormond McGill milkshake. Ormond believed in laughter, and he was a sly trickster throughout his life. And this afternoon we'll show you some of the dark side of Ormond as well as the light side of Ormond. So today is to have fun, to remember the good times, always. And to start off, I would like a few words from Michael Olmsted, who will speak for Ormond's family. Michael?
I don't know if it's possible to speak for my family, but so I will only take credit for speaking for myself, and if somehow I manage to capture some of the things they're feeling as well, then so be it. But Ormond was my uncle on my father's side, and he was a very, very important part of our family. From the time I was born and when I was growing up, he lived in a house directly behind our house. He always lived with my grandmother and grandfather, Anna Mae and Ray Olmsted, and they lived right next to us. And then after that, while I was in high school, they lived over on Creekside Avenue in Palo Alto, just about 4 doors down from where my brother Ron and his family lived. So we were always very close here in Palo Alto, and we always really treasured the time that we had to spend with Uncle Ormond. You may know this, or some of you may know this, but the Olmsted family had quite a tradition of being in the entertainment business, walking the wire and juggling and playing multiple instruments, and quite often doing all 3 of those things at the same time. So Ormond, being the magician and the hypnotist and collecting butterflies and bugs, while in some families might have been somewhat esoteric, in the Olmsted family he fit right in. And in fact, a lot of his positive energy and his attitude about life, personally, I really think was inspired by my grandmother, Anna Mae, who actually on one occasion kicked me out of the house for having negative thoughts. But they just weren't allowed in the house, So, they say that our life is not so much measured in days as it is in moments. And certainly some of the most memorable moments of my life were at Christmas and Thanksgiving and other family functions where we all gathered. And the highlight of those events was inevitably the performance by Ormond. And he always put on a show at every family get-together. So you can imagine, let me just describe a little bit what Thanksgiving was like, Here would be my dad twirling batons on his thumbs, okay? My Aunt Anna Mae was at the piano composing personalized songs based on your telephone number and what your favorite color was. And then my uncle would start making money come out of your nose and eggs coming out of your mouth. So it wasn't until I got to college that I kind of came to the understanding that this wasn't normal. They had a course there in college in normal family behavior, and we were not in the textbook at all. So, but it was a wonderful place to grow up. And you have to understand that at 5 and 6 and at 7, my Uncle Ormond was not doing magic tricks. My Uncle Ormond was doing magic. And so there was very little doubt in my mind that I just happened to have an uncle who could make things appear and disappear on command at will anytime he wanted. And there was absolutely no question that he could read your mind. So that's kind of where we started with Uncle Ormond. And he never let down. See, he wasn't putting on a show. He lived the show. And we would say, Uncle Ormond, how did you do that? And he'd look at us with that same kind of mysterious voice. Oh, the cosmic vibrations are very strong in here tonight. Oh, there seems to be some vibrations coming. Isn't that amazing? How can that be? How can that be possible? And we never knew, We never really knew. So then later in life, of course, I began to understand in my rational mind that Ormond was doing tricks, right? And that only made it worse because I could never figure out how he did the tricks, even though I saw them over and over again and would stare and try to sit at every angle in the living room, so that I could try to see behind to see how he did it and stuff. So for those of you who haven't been through this, I would just in retrospect suggest that you just resign and believe in magic, okay? So, but then I finally still got older, and that's when I realized that not only because of his incredible talent as a magician and a hypnotist and his, but I realized what an amazing person my uncle was. And again, not because of these skills, but because of the unbounding energy he had, the clarity of thought he had, and the diverse nature of his interests. Not very many people in his generation traveled to all the places around the world that he saw and the cultures that they explored. It wasn't as easy as getting on the 747 as we do today. And there wasn't globalization. And he was going into places and putting on shows in Thailand and Bali and all of these places where he was dealing with a completely different interpretation of reality. And I thought, you know, in the 70s, many of us became interested or were exposed to Eastern religions. And the Beatles kind of made it hip. But not very many people 60 were reading about Eastern religions and figuring out how to integrate it with Western thought and concepts of hypnotism. I thought it was interesting that yesterday over at Stanford, you may have read, the Dalai Lama was there, and he spent all day with Stanford scientists trying to look for the nexus points between the two schools of thought. And I thought to myself, well, there's something Ormond had been doing for the last 20 or 30 years. So it was... you know, seeing all these things, that when he was 89 and I was with him in the hospital and Marlene and Chuck and I were there and we weren't sure whether Ormond was even going to make it to the next breath. And all he was talking about was how he had to finish his autobiography. It's just incredible energy that he had up until the very end of his life, where he was teaching workshops 3 or 4 days before his passing. So coming to see that person from the point of view of an adult who, you know, now I produce shows and have that experience, it was just an amazing evolution. And I never lost the appreciation for the magic that he gave to us. In recent years, some of the most magical moments that Ormond gave me were with my 2 children who are here today, 7-year-old twins, Alec and Elise. And Ormond was always so supportive of Michelle and I, and never failed to remind us of the sacred nature of our work that we were doing. And he also had a really, really strong connection with them. And I can remember them sitting on the couch together, just looking at each other. And I wasn't sure if they were saying, who's this weird old guy? But eventually they would just kind of be there with Ormond, totally at peace, and Ormond would look up at me and say, very old souls. And so it was always wonderful for him to come over and to play with Alec and Elise, and of course they loved his magic. They say of sages and holy men that they're often described as being childlike and playful in their nature, and Ormond certainly had that quality. You know, I think back and I think Ormond really lived in a very unique space between reality and illusion, between the conscious and the unconscious mind. And as a true jester or trickster, as Chuck said, he not only brought us joy through his performances and his teaching, but he also helped us to shape our perception of reality and our whole help us to define the parameters of our worldview. As the poet David White says, no man or woman standing at the edge of their own inner pool of darkness are exempt from the wish to pass from this place and this stage, to find a safe, dry land bridge and walk across. For we intuit in those waters the dreams and potentialities of a lifetime, but finding them hidden by the strangely irrational depth of our fear, we're not sure they're worth the grief. Ormond was very comfortable there. He looked into his pool of inner darkness and he lit it up. He grasped the dreams and potentialities of a lifetime, and we are all better for it. I close with a Japanese poem that I found that I really felt expressed where Ormond and Delight are today, looking down at this gathering. For a moment they hover like bejeweled clouds and dance above the crystal streams. Then as they sail away on the laughing waters, they seem to say, farewell, O spring, we are on our way to eternity. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Is it on? Good. Moving on. Ormond had many, many interests in life, as you know. And he affected many fields. One particular field that he added a tremendous amount to, and which you'll hear more on today, was the field of hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So please welcome the head of the Hypnotherapy Institute of Northern California, Randall Churchill.
Wow, I keep seeing more and more people I know, dear friends. Thank you. Thank you all, everybody, for being here, and so many of you coming from other states, other areas. All of us have something in common, and that is our love for Ormond. And one thing I want to do is acknowledge the profound bond that Ormond and Marlene had and have. It's indescribable. I have been honored by my deep friendship with Ormond, and in my very busy life, I have some very dear friends that I see a few times a year. I was so blessed for so many years to spend at least a couple times a week and most weeks of real quality time with Ormond. He became one of my 3 closest friends, and I knew, by knowing Ormond, I knew personally that there is such a thing as enlightenment. Ormond accomplished so much in so many ways. He was, for example, the most influential stage hypnotist of all time. He was a great magician whose career spanned 8 decades. He was accomplished in other fields. He wrote countless books, including some classics about the field of hypnosis, and wrote many more books about magic and other subjects. I feel that he was at his most profound and inspiring of all when he taught and demonstrated hypnotherapy. During his demonstrations and private sessions, he could transform people's lives in minutes. And I believe this was his greatest work of all, and that does not in any way lessen his legendary status in doing stage hypnosis and teaching it and writing about it, or his achievements of his so many great writings in so many fields. His writings on hypnotherapy were often so innovative and insightful, but you had to be there to experience the magic of his presence, taking it to a whole new level. And so it's his teaching of hypnotherapy, which I was so involved with, that I want to emphasize today. And I also, in the process of that and who he was, I'll inevitably also be emphasizing his spiritual side. Marlene and I were celebrating with him and our students Ormond's 25th anniversary of being a state-approved instructor on the faculty of the Hypnotherapy Training Institute, when he taught an exceptional afternoon class for our graduates 4 days before he passed on. We have received a flood now of over 200 emails and cards from graduates from all over the world. And we have received many other condolences from colleagues around the world as well. But it's not the quantity of these statements coming in that has so blown us away. It's the quality. It's just unbelievable. And I believe that, Marlene, have you brought a folder with most of those emails we received? I'm sorry?
Somewhere.
So it's somewhere here on the premises? Or if you can read any of them, they're just incredible. And I know that this is felt by thousands of others around the world that Ormond has touched so deeply. It's great to see, I believe, at least 50 HTI graduates here today. And as current president of the American Council of Hypnotist Examiners, it's also great to see dozens of ACHE members, and many of whom are graduates. I would like to acknowledge the tremendous appreciation given to Ormond for many years by the two largest and most important hypnotherapy organizations, the ACHE and the National Guild of Hypnotists. On the advisory boards of both organizations all along, he has received countless accolades from both organizations, including, for example, a Lifetime Achievement Award by the ACHE. It's only been given to just a very few people, and that was back in 1988. And a Year of McGill and so many other awards from the National Guild. And they go, for both organizations, they just go on and on and on. But I feel the awards and acknowledgments are dwarfed by the incredible love and appreciation for Ormond by the members of these organizations, as exemplified by the thunderous standing ovations he's been given every year at both of their annual events. Ormond began his career in hypnosis giving a stage demonstration in high school in 1927. He rapidly improved, and he needed to improve from that. He's talked about that. And by the late 1930s, became regarded by many as the greatest stage hypnotist. In those days, there were only two kinds of professionals. This is per several sources I've read. Two kinds of professionals doing hypnosis in this country: psychiatrists and stage hypnotists. Hypnosis was just beginning to expand into psychology and other fields and was just about to become a career for some. Two great stage hypnotists led the way, growing up with the field and bringing the field to grow up with them. Dave Ellman and Ormond McGill. Ellman dropped stage hypnosis in the 40s while Ormond continued it, but he expanded rapidly beginning in the 1940s to write in the field and move broadly on. His first book on hypnotism, Mrs. Monidio, was in the 1950s from his travels at that time and went on from there. I credit Gil Boyne for helping bring Ormond out of his retirement and despair over the death of Delight by having Ormond teach a seminar emphasizing stage hypnosis in 1979. His promotion of that event highlighted Ormond's legendary status as a stage hypnotist and author. I was delighted to discover a year later that Ormond lived in Northern California. Marlene and I met with him exactly 25 years ago in November of 1980, for all I know to the day of today, and the three of us enthusiastically prepared for him to teach hypnotherapy with us at our institute. I transformed his title from the Dean of American Stage Hypnotist to the well-deserved title, Dean of American Hypnotist, which fit him like a glove. He taught his first class for us in January 1981, and it was just fabulous. Two of the condolences we've received in recent days were from students in that class. One of them, Barbara LaRue, remembered the hypnosis she experienced from Ormond in that class, the demonstration he did. I'd like to add it was pretty dramatic. During the demonstration, there was a car crash. Ormond kind of looked around. Well, she was there in hypnosis, walked over, looked in the window, and saw that it was his car that had been hit. And he went back and continued as if nothing had happened. And we didn't even know it was his car until partway through the break when he felt like he better step out and deal with it. So, let's see here. We asked Barbara a few days ago after an email if she remembered that crash and the brief pause, and said yes, she did. It was far, far away, and it didn't faze her wonderful experience of that hypnosis. Ormond continued writing books and articles, but aside from a couple times he taught for another school in Northern California, he was just teaching hypnotherapists with us for a while, and then his tremendous skills as a hypnotherapy teacher were discovered big time in 1987. The SHE highlighted him at their first annual International Hypnotherapy Conference in February, and the National Guild created an Ormond McGill Power Hypnosis Hypnotherapy Weekend Seminar in November, which was followed by several more throughout the country in 1988. Then the Guild promoted him at their 88th convention. The ASHE promoted Ormond McGill Mastermind Weekend seminars, and both organizations have continued highlighting him at their annual events. Soon he was traveling with Marlene to teach hypnotherapists in New Zealand and Australia, teaching with Chuck in the UK, and so on, and has for many more years now been widely appreciated for his teaching hypnotherapy. Those who have experienced at least a full weekend of Ormond teaching hypnotherapy, as we have continued to provide in our Level 2 classes and for hypnotherapists, can fully appreciate what he had to give. Amazingly, he's continued to get even better over the years, and has always had, for us, always had so much more to teach in our Level 6 advanced classes of our 300-hour program, and periodically in some of our other advanced classes as well. One unique thing he did just with us, in conjunction with Marlene setting it up, were phenomenal private sessions for the past 25 years for participants of our seminars. And he just like he did in class, he could just really help someone just transform their lives so profoundly. It was just incredible. I want to read a couple sentences from from our brochure about him that I don't think these sentences have changed for over 20 years. Ormond has combined his profound mastery of many hypnotic techniques, his deep personal understanding of Eastern systems of meditation, mysticism, wisdom and healing, and his creativity, vision, compassion, humor, and life experience. Ormond's body finally gave out at the age of 92, but his mind, heart, creativity, and spirit kept expanding to the end. He was writing prolifically at the end, and by the way, he completed his first novel last year. How about that? And he was so proud of it, too. On the day he ascended, I wrote, Ormond gave so much in so many ways to our field of hypnotherapy, but many of us feel that his greatest gifts to us have gone way beyond his pearls of wisdom, and were often felt in his charming presence. Beyond what he said, it was how he delivered it, always with great kindness, humility, respect, caring, good humor, and love. While we can mourn our loss, we can be grateful he gave of his magical, wonderful life and work so fully as long as he did. There's one story I'd like to say. I'd like to go back 4 years. And Ormond wanted to be very private when he had some major physical struggles over the last several years. But I feel it's appropriate to say this. He was very, very weak from major surgery. And I finally gave up trying to kid myself and realized that he was dying, and I was going, and I believed I was going to his deathbed in Palo Alto at the hospital. And I was there with him and holding his hand. And it was so hard for him to talk, and he was so weak, but he somehow got it out that he had more work to do. He had more service he needed to do for the world. And by God, he willed himself back to life. A friend of mine just wrote, quote, I know the most the most refined part of Ormond's spirit will continue to live in us. He said, this is not just a platitude. It's easy to believe if you love Bach, for example, unquote. So thank you, Ormond, for the magic of being a part of us. And Ormond, you are such a delight.
You're awake. There's another part of Ormond's life, of course. Actually, the part that started it all is called magic. And we are privileged today to have a gentleman who met Ormond when he was just starting in magic. And he'll tell you a little bit about that. Please welcome the successor to Dante, Mr. Lee Grable. Help the old man up. There's the mic. It's all yours.
I would like each and every one of you to know that I'm most honored to be here and relating some of my memories of my dear friend. If at times I seem to hesitate and be groping for words, it's because I am. And I'm sorry I'm not as well prepared as some you have just heard. I first met Ormond in an elevator in the fall of 1938 at the Golden Gate Theater. He was just returning from seeing his agent, Lou Emmel, in the Golden Theater building, and I was returning from seeing my agent, Ken Daly of the Bert Levy circuit. I don't recall how we actually became acquainted that each of us were magicians, but it comes out, and you know, those interested in magic, and I assume hypnotism and other walks of life, you form a bond that is quite close because you have a unique interest. And when I say unique, I mean unique. After the war, I didn't become too close with Ormond until after the war. And he and Delight and Helen and I were very close, spent many memorable hours, days together. I know one time we were visiting Ormond and Delight, and Delight rather rushed into the room and said, "Ormond, Moz, the searchlight." There was a large searchlight that they used for the opening of stores. Delight had seen that shooting in the air, and she grabbed 2 butterfly nets and threw them at Helen and I. Ormond grabbed one, she grabbed a sheet. We got in the car and we headed for Camino Real, where the opening of the store was. They laid a sheet under this huge spotlight, but there wasn't one moth worth saving. But this was their spirit. They traveled the world looking for moths of all shapes and color. He had the most beautiful collection of butterflies, rather, you've ever seen. And in memory of Delight, he loaned this collection to Marine World, and they had it on display as a tribute to Delight, and it disappeared. He was never able to get it back. He did not know what happened to that display. Ormond had a sense of humor. He has told me the story I'm going to tell you on 2 different occasions. But when he lived, he was a teenager, I guess, at this time, when they lived in the Victorian in Palo Alto. And in the basement, he had his magic room. Magicians know what a magic room is, where there are little trinkets here and there, and magicians meet and they talk. They talk. And they talk. And they do this and they do that. And so Ormond's telling of the time one Sunday when his good friend Lyle Laughlin, who was about 15 years older than Lyle, and Ormond must have been about a teenager at that time, and it was on a Sunday. And while Lyle was there, his mother called down to the basement, said, "Ormond, it's time for church. Get dressed." And Ormond said, "Well, Mother, my friend Lyle is here." And his mother said, "It's all right, Ormond, bring Lyle with you." Of course, Lyle heard all of this. And Ormond tells the story. Lyle didn't say anything. He walked over to the door, went out of the magic room, up the steps, and Ormond said, "I didn't know what he was going to do. So I just followed him." And he went out to his car and opened the trunk of his car. And I just stood on the curb and watched him. He didn't say a word. He reached in the trunk of the car and took out a padded cloth bag. He opened the bag, pulled out a fifth of bourbon. He opened the bourbon, and Ormond says, "You know what? He turned that bourbon up and took 3 big swallows, not saying a thing. He put the lid back on the bottle, put it back in the paper, in this cloth sack, slammed the trunk door, looked at Ormond and said, 'Now, Ormond, I'm ready for church.'" But Ormond enjoyed that story. I would like to briefly, they gave me 2 minutes. I remember after the war, I guess it was probably late 50s, early 60s, Ormond did a show at the Palo Alto Community Center. I don't believe there was any hypnotism, straight magic. And at that particular community center, they're used to cultural events, concert, musicians, singers, actors. He had a very adult, sophisticated audience. And he did about an hour-and-a-half show without a break. All magic. And they loved every minute of that show. There weren't any screaming children, all adults. And his closing act, the curtain opened, and there was a black velvet drape at the back. And painted on this drape in bone, aged bone color was a large skull, about 5 feet around. Spooky effect. And in the middle of the stage was a coffin, mounted on 4 legs. And on either side of the coffin was a torch burning on a little stand. That was the setting. I wish I could remember. He had a symphonic orchestra recording in the background. Very dramatic, and with that setting, a little unsettling. Ormond, on stage came a young man dressed as a gorilla, and wondered about, and Ormond come on stage and tried to get him off stage, but he sort of shoved Ormond to one side. And he went over to one side of the apron and looked at the audience, looked over the other side, looked at the audience, and finally he went down the steps into the audience. And he looked at different people. Ormond was very worried on the stage because he'd tried to keep him away from going into the audience. And about the second or third row back, he grabbed a lady. And that lady screamed to the top of her voice. And she fought this gorilla. He threw her over her shoulder. I remember her legs flying like this, her arms like this. I've never heard such blood-curdling screams in my life. And carried her up on the stage and threw her in this coffin. And ran over and got a torch, and Ormond fought him to keep him taking this torch, and he threw the torch in the casket, and it went up in flames. when I think, pardon me for hesitating, I'm thinking of that very sophisticated, mature audience. But anyway, and they sit there stunned in awe. Ormond went over. Oh, and he closed the lid. The girl closed the lid on the casket. Ormond went over, opened the lid, and the sides come down, and there was a black skeleton laying in this casket. The skeleton, he must have pulled a string or something, set up, laid back down. And the curtain gradually closed. And, you know, I'm so pleased that you get the picture. And that audience, it was the end, I'm getting away from the microphone here, but that audience sat there, it was the end of the show. They just sat. They expected this woman to come down from the back of the auditorium, but they just sit in utter silence for about a minute or so, and finally, over there you heard the other side, another. And finally, after a while, there must have been a dozen people. And finally, a voice come over the microphone. Mr. McGill, appreciate your attendance. This is the end of the show. They still sit there for about a minute, and finally, one person sort of got up down close to the center of the stage, and he and his wife, hand in hand, walked out. And finally, they all walked out the same way. Anyway, after the show, I said, Ormond, why in the world did you close such a dignified, such a great show like that? And Ormond said, well, I guess I did catch them a little off guard. And, but he was I would like to just read one little thing here, if I might, because Ormond was a unique personality in this day and age of the hustle and the bustle we have today. This is a little proverb, from a Chinese proverb. If I can get it all together, I'll have to hold it close. I'm too vain to put on my glasses. All right. Only those who take leisurely what the people of the world are busy about can be busy about what the people of the world take leisurely. Ormond was one of the most unique, lovable, sweet people I have ever known, and God bless him.
Thank you, Lee, for Tales from the Dark Side. Oh, there's many more. Right now, we'd like to open it up a little bit and lighten it up a little bit. Please welcome wonderful magician with a tribute to Ormond. He's a close friend, soulmate in many ways in the field of magic. Patrick Martin, known as Patrick.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Thank you. It is a great honor to be here among so many people that loved Ormond so deeply, family and friends, and for many, many years. I first met Ormond when I was in my mid-teens. I was trying to sneak into the Society of American Magicians conference. It was here in Palo Alto. And he and Delight were there. And I was underage, so I was kicked out. As I was walking out, I caught Ormond's eye, and he gave me just that little twinkle smile and a little nod. And I realized I had a friend still. And he became my mentor. We spent many, many hours together just talking about magic and philosophy and hypnotism and things. Well, over the years, we used to go not only to his house, but over to the Peninsula Creamery. And we would talk about miracles. And his favorite lunch was a mocha chip milkshake. He would have one every day. And he thought that this was the perfect lunch. And we thought, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to create a mocha milkshake wherever he went? So if he was in England or in South America, wherever he traveled, he would be able to enjoy lunch. So we came up with an Ormond milkshake trick. Would you like to see it? Yes. This has never been performed before. Because we just came up with it a few months ago, and he asked me to build something for it, and he was going to routine it. And he never got around to showing me what his routine was going to be. So I thought, well, I'll make it up. Why not? And but I need two people that really have good, that like milkshakes. You know, is there two? Elise, would you help me? Is Alec here too? This is Elise and Alec. Hello. Alec, if you could stand right over here. How are you? I hear you do magic too, yes? I feel the same way, I understand. How about you, Elise? How long have you been a magician? About 30 seconds now. Perfect. Well, I'm going to give you a task. In order to create the perfect milkshake, you need to do a few things. It's very, very important. First, you have to have very clean apparatus. This is the milkshake canister. Take the milkshake canister. Take the cloth. Would you polish the milkshake canister? Ah, nice technique. Are they well cleaned? Excellent. If you'll take a glass each, take a glass. And would you clean the glass? Step forward so that they can see you out there. Right there. Perfect. Oh, excellent. And come a little bit closer. Smile. We're in show business. Very nice work. Now, the next thing we need is the secret ingredients. And you know, Ormond spent many years determining what the secret ingredient was. It was Peninsula Creamery. I agree. See, at Peninsula Creamery, he had the best milkshakes in the world here. And let me get some. This is the secret ingredient. Do you know what this is? Confetti. Confetti? No, these are milkshake flavor flakes. Milkshake. Yes, hold on to that. Milkshake flavor flakes. And it has every flavor you can think of. Blueberry, good, good. What's your favorite flavor? Strawberry? Do you like chocolate? Chocolate. Do you like liver flavor? Have you ever had liver flavor? It's an acquired taste.
Strawberry and chocolate.
Now we must hypnotize the flavor flakes. Oh, wait. Very important. Here, take some of them. Hold on to these. Hold out your hand. Good. Hold out your hand. Keep these for good luck. Excellent. Yes, that one too. This is the important part. Sleep. Sleep. Oh, now we have to give it a post-hypnotic suggestion. Mocha chip milkshake. Very good. Let's see if it worked. It didn't work. Oh, do you still have the flavor flakes?
Yeah, we do.
Sprinkle them over and say, wake up.
Wake up.
Sprinkle it over, wake up. Let's see what happened.
I want one.
Quick, the glass, the glass. I guess he liked it. Taste that. Make sure that is a mocha chip. Is that mocha chip?
It's mocha chip, right?
That is mocha chip. Well, here's to Ormond, who always felt that life was not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Cheers, Ormond. Let's enjoy our milkshake.
That's great.
Oh, that's good.
How are we doing, Joe? Oh, good. Patrick, we need you.
Yes.
Lee, would you like to join us for a minute? Lee Grable? Hello? Come on. We in the Magic Fraternity have a little ceremony that we do, and Patrick has agreed to help out with Lee. So if, Patrick, if you'll read that.
All right.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Broken Wand Ceremony.
To Brother Ormond McGill, with your permission, we'd like to perform a short symbolic broken wand ceremony. Now, there are artists who entertain by singing, playing a musical instrument, dancing, drama, and magic. The magician entertains by stimulating his audience's imagination, fantasy, and sense of wonder. It is with deep humility and with genuine pride that I assume a role in the service. I come as a representative of the Society of American Magicians and as a humble spokesman of its members. Friends of Ormond McGill, a compeer of society who, at the call of the supreme magician, has slipped the bonds of flesh and gone on to take his place in the life that lies beyond. None of us can say what waits for him on the other side of the footlights as the curtain closes and earthly plaudits die away. We only know that the veil between here and there has been lifted so that our brother may enter in and be initiated into the profound mystery of the unknown. We who have faith believe that the effect now witnessed is merely the end of an act in the drama or life of that actor who has received his cue to take a nobler part in a greater and better scene. One intrigued by mystery now knows that the secret of life's greatest mystery. We shall miss him and remember the joy his talents brought to others. The unity of our society still links our brothers and ourselves. One we talked with yesterday is silent today. A friend who walked with us has gone on without us. We shall miss him and we shall remember him. And no greater tribute can be paid to any man than this, to say that he lives in and in the hearts of all of his friends. So Ormond McGill, your name shall live on. And the joy of your talents brought to others in this world will surely bring you divine approbation on the other side. Compeer Ormond McGill, when you were initiated into the Society of American Magicians, you were presented with a wand, an ancient emblem of mystery. It symbolized the magical power that was yours as you used your knowledge of the magician's secrets and your skill in their exemplification. Now its power is gone. It is merely a stick, devoid of all meaning and authority, useless without your hand to wield it. Brother compeers, may the broken wand symbolize our submission to the mandate of the supreme magician, to whom all secrets are known, even of life and of death. And to the surety of his love we commit the keeping of our brother.
Moving on to a lighter part. Ormond was an international figure in all respects, magic, hypnosis, you name it. I mean, he taught hypnosis and performed magic all around the world. We're privileged to have for us today, representative from the National Guild of Hypnotists. So please welcome Melody Damon Pachand.
I have a big mouth. Thank you. Yes. Okay. It saddens us all that we have lost a great friend and colleague whose passion for hypnosis has benefited us all. As a young girl, I often heard my dad speak of Ormond. When I joined the National Guild of Hypnotists 15 years ago, it gave me great pleasure to meet this gracious and gentle man. The NGH staff has always enjoyed receiving Ormond's calls and correspondence, as Ormond always made each and every one of us feel special. Ormond's vast contributions to the NGH are greatly appreciated. Dr. and Mrs. Damon are out of the country and cannot be with us today. They send their thoughts and prayers to all. Dr. Damon and Ormond shared a fondness for great poetry. To honor Ormond, Dr. Damon has chosen this poem to share in Ormond's memory. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am in the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft star that shines at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Mary E. Fry, 1932. Thank you.
Thank you. While we take a quick break to change tapes. Another trick which you'll see a picture of later on was the sacrificial head cremation. He would get a person to kneel down, and then he'd put this table around their neck, and then lock them in. Then he'd put this tin can on top of it, and while the person couldn't see, he lit a torch, and then placed it in and set it on fire. And when he took the can off, there was a skeleton sitting there. He didn't leave it at that, though. He'd put the can back on and restore the person's head. Anyway. Okay, in 1998, very good friend of Ormond and mine, Jerry Valley, Ormond and I sat down and said, you know, the state of stage hypnotism in the world is really going downhill. We need to get some ethics and some real theater back into it, that a show, as has been said, Ormond's show was a show that could play to any audience anywhere in the world. And we'd like to have that kind of dignity return to it, because stage hypnosis is where many people first hear about hypnosis, and hypnosis really is a marvelous, marvelous tool for all of us. And so I'll please welcome Jerry Valley.
Thank you very much. For the last hour, The gentleman sitting in front of me kept going like this. So I want to make sure you can hear me. You okay now? All right. Help me out here. Is it my imagination, or is there a tremendous resemblance between Ormond McGill and Lee Grable? It's unbelievable. It's really a privilege to be here, and I'm glad I could make it. And I'm just amazed at all the people that came out. Thank you for coming. Alex Mitt, my good friend and good friend of Ormond's for 26 years, used to call Ormond the Wizard of Oz. And he told me, he said, "You are truly a wizard." And he was, wasn't he? I met Ormond. He was so clever and so witty. I met him in 1987 at Gilboyne's convention in Anaheim, California. And he gave such witty answers. I went up to him and said, "Ormond, I do stage hypnosis, and how can I become a better hypnotist?" He said, "Why?" I said, I don't know. So I said, well, how can I get subjects to go deeper into hypnosis? And he said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, what difference does it make if a subject is a second or third stage subject or somnambulist, as long as they are performing?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, now you know." I mean, he was so clever, so witty. I had the privilege of being on cruise ships for 10 years, primarily the QE2. And I asked him, and I said, "I have some experiences and stories from the cruise ships. But do you think it'd be all right to open the show with a story, something like that?" And he said, "Well, as long as has no profanity in it, it gets them to laugh." He said, "Why not? Do it." So I thought I'd share one with you, if that's okay. You can get lost on cruise ships very easily. I was on the QE2 out there with Robert Vaughn. Remember him, the man from U.N.C.L.E.? Great, great guy. Great. He was the only star on the many cruises that I did where he would actually mingle with the people. So there's a lady coming towards us, cute as a button, gray hair, glasses, looked like a retired school teacher. So I said, "I'm going to help her out." She had a key in her hand. She looked like she had this glaze over her eyes. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, are you lost?" She said, "Well, I can't find my cabin." So I looked at the number. I said, "Well, I know where that is. Come on, I'll walk you towards it." So while we were walking along, she asked me this question. She said, "How do you know your way around the ship so well?" I said, "Well, I do a lot of cruises, the QE2, the Countess, and the Princess." She said, "Really?" She said, "Well, what do you do that you can afford to take so many cruises?" Now I realize that she doesn't know that I'm the entertainer on the ship. So I thought I'd have a little fun with her. I said, "Well, I'm a gigolo." Now, you have to picture this. I just told her I'm a gigolo, and there's a lady coming towards us who had seen my show the night before. And she yells out, "Hey, mister, last night you were fantastic." So he said I could do that. I had to have his permission, really. Ormond was my idol, my pal, my buddy, my partner, my associate, and he would call me. He would call me very often. He'd say, and the first words I'd hear, "Jerry, Ormond here. I'm still here. Not time to go yet. Are we going to run another seminar?" I said, "Yes, we're going to do one in Las Vegas again." And I think that kept him pumped up. It kept him alive. And other seminars that he did with Marlene and others, it kept him going. I mean, I'm amazed. 92 and a half, wasn't it? 92 and a half years old? Wow. I'd like to get halfway there, I said to Ormond, because he had talked about, going with delight and everything. And I said, Ormond, I saw a movie one time, and there was a wonderful phrase in the movie that said, "When you love someone, you never really lose them." So I feel, and I hope you do too, that Ormond McGill is sitting right here on my left shoulder, giving me advice and his expertise. So I say to Ormond McGill, so long, pal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay. It's called Technical Switch Time. Ormond had a lot of interesting things. Ormond was always putting you on. You never knew when he was putting you on because he always do it with a straight face. You know, we used to joke with each other, and we were going to do a show, and we're running just a little late. And he knew exactly what my answer would be. So he would say, we're not going to get there on time. And my answer always was, don't worry, Ormond, the show won't start until we get there. And then I realized he got me. So what can I say? All right. At our seminars, which we've done since 1998, we've had a lovely lady by the name of Christine Kaya. And last year, why can't I move that down? All right. Somebody help me. I don't want to play that one. I want to play the other one. Oh, pointing towards the machine. There it is. It works. See? It helps. Thank you, Ormond. Remember, he always said, never take life seriously. Anyway, a lovely lady by the name of Christine Kaya, who is a professional singer in Canada. She couldn't be with us today. She wanted to. But in June, just after Ormond's birthday, he was ready to start his show. We got him up on stage, and but we wanted to give him this, and Christina had written this specifically for him. Watch the humor that Ormond has with this. It's really interesting.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're very happy to welcome you to our International Concert of Hypnotism. The reason we call it international is because many of the operations tonight in hypnosis I saw first performed in India by a yogi.
Excuse me, Ormond?
Yes.
You know, it just dawned on me.
Testing?
Just dawned on me.
What's that?
You just turned 92.
I don't hear what you said.
You just turned 92. And we ought to celebrate a little bit. Don't you think, Christina?
Yeah. Yes, Ormond, we have a surprise for you.
What's that?
Well, it's a surprise that's sort of a tradition. So it's not as much of a surprise as it was maybe 3 years ago, but this year it's sort of a surprise because it hasn't happened for a year, but it's going to happen tonight, and last time was a year. Never mind. I was just trying to. Ormond,
yes.
It is my honor to sing for you on behalf of everyone here tonight a happy birthday song in celebration of being here with you and your birthday that was 2 days ago.
94. 94.
You're 94?
No, 92.
You're 92. I hope so because I made all the words rhyme to 92. If it was 94, I'm really in trouble. So, Ormond, this is from all of us to you.
Well, thank you.
Dear Mr. McGill, I am singing this to you, and I hope that you'll listen so you'll know. My heart goes all a-flutter, and my knees they turn to butter every time your show rolls around. I guess I'm just another fan of yours, but I thought I'd take the time to tell you so. You made us love you. You've taught us all hypnosis without too much psychosis. You made us love you, the way you greet the folks and tell those off-key jokes, and for many years you were known as Dr. Zom, and I'm amazed at all the things that you can hide in your palm. Your shows enthrall me, though when I am a member, there's not much I remember. I love those milkshakes too. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know I do. We're gathered all here to be with you. We'll meet you back here next year when you're 93, sir. Dearest Ormond, we all love you.
That'll recycle, I hope. Anyway, Christina sends her love that she couldn't be here. I would like to just share some of my personal experiences. I met Ormond back actually in 1975, and I saw him in Delight when they did a show for one of the magic clubs, and he was marvelous. I was very much into perceptionism, did a lot of Eastern studies and whatnot, and Ormond had a lot of that, and we kind of got along well. It was okay. It wasn't until the next year after Delight died, and he invited me over to the house. So I come over, and inside he had a table full of medications. Now, I have a degree in chemistry, and he knew it. And he shows me these medications, and he says, which one of these will do it? See, Ormond loved Delight so much. And I looked at them, and I looked at Ormond, and I said, well, they'll make you very sick. But I'll tell you what, if you're really serious, I'll drive you to the bridge. He looked at me and said, really? I said, yeah, but why don't we get some dinner first? Now, Ormond was staying with his father-in-law, and he had his collections out in the garage. And so what we did is we went out to dinner, then we went and sat in his garage among the insect collections, the shell collections, the butterflies. And so started a 4-month sojourn. And it was my privilege to be with Ormond during these 4 months. I would leave work, go up, pick him up, we'd go out to dinner, and then we'd sit in the garage among the insects and the bugs, and we'd talk. And he'd talk. And we talked about the Tao Te Ching, the watercourse way, Delight. And in the process, it's kind of like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where you start walking through with the other person. About 3 weeks into this, he said to me, you know, in the wee hours of the morning, I really feel Delight close to me. I said, really? Why don't you take a pad of paper, put it beside your bed, and when you get the sense of Delight, write it down. I said, okay. 4 weeks later, he had the first draft of the Book of Delight, which was published in 1996 under the title Grieve No More Beloved, The Story of Delight. Very interesting. Interestingly enough, Ormond is a very, very gentle man, very trusting man. During this time in life, he was in the process of trying to give things away. And I thought, well, that isn't really appropriate. Should be doing something else. Lee Grable came forward, and Lee was, at that time, looking at putting his big show back on the road. His big show actually dates back to the 50s. Little did he realize that in the 1970s, it cost 10 times as much to put a truck on the road. But in the process, Lee said, you know, I've got a promoter out here. Why don't we get Ormond busy again? Why don't we get him out there and practicing? And so in 1977, the promoter started booking Ormond, and he recreated his South Sea Island magic show. He went out for a year with a young magician. After that year, the young magician went off on his own. And of course, Ormond and I were getting together regularly and just talking and having fun. And see, Ormond was born the same year as my father. So we would joke that in a former life, he was my son. Yeah. And so every now and then I had to reprimand him, you know. Yeah, right. Like you can reprimand Ormond. Impossible. So anyway, I said, hey, Ormond, look, no problem. I have a little magic that I do, but why don't I go and assist you? So we went out on the road together, and for 15 years, up till 1993, we performed for the National Federation of the Blind and other charities. We did anywhere between 4 and 8 shows a month. After a year, the promoter wanted a different show, so I said, hey, we'll do my show. And this is fun. I had Ormond McGill as my assistant. Now, I gave him a script to read at one time. Ormond doesn't read scripts, he creates. So we finally decided that Ormond's position on my show should be the janitor, which was very nice because he didn't have to change his clothes. He could just come out on stage. And he would come out on stage, and with just a look, he would charm the audience. Absolutely. And we had some comic things we did, like I'd be looking for a pair of scissors, and he'd come out holding them, smiling to the audience. You know? Then he'd come over to me, and he'd slap him in my hand, and I'd go, ow! And the audience loved it. We ended that show with the straitjacket escape, and after I had the lady and gentleman tie me in, he would come out and he'd say, "Let's make sure it's tight," and start pulling them back and forth and back and forth. Again, the audience cheered. He was just that way. During those years, we traveled around the country. We traveled to London. We lectured to hypnotherapy institutes. I'm also a hypnotherapist. And we just had a lot of fun, doing those magic shows from 1976 to 1980 really got Ormond back into the swing of things. And it was my privilege, as I say, to be with him during that time because it was kind of like being able to watch a butterfly emerge. And he was like a butterfly. He was like a butterfly. Oh, we spent many hours on the road. I can't tell you the number of times we had crazy things happen. But Ormond liked to sleep. I don't know if you knew this. He liked to sleep. We get out on the road. We start talking a little bit, and he said, "Well, I'm going to sleep for a while." And he put on his blindfold, and he could sleep in any position. Right? He could sleep sitting up just as well. No problem. Now, he'd be sleeping with his head down like this, and I'm going, boy, that'd kill me. He was just having fun. You never knew when he was kidding you, pulling your leg. And actually, one evening we finished the show. You know, there aren't too many restaurants open. And we ended up with a Mickey D's, and he got some chicken McNuggets that didn't set well with him. And from that day on, we had this marvelous joke about Mickey D's. We would pass one and say, "Oh, doggone it, look it, we just missed the Mickey D's. Oh, it's on the wrong side of the street." Now, the interesting thing is people that were with us that didn't understand this thought that we really loved Mickey D's. Drove them absolutely crazy, you know. Yeah, and Ormond had a wonderful way of starting a conversation that you thought you started and ending it before you realized it was over. You heard about the shows that Ormond did with Jerry Valley, and of course the marvelous time that he had. And actually, right around the beginning of the Hypnotherapy Institute in Northern California, when they were getting it off the ground and everything, Ormond joined them, and he was just so excited about the idea that he could actually contribute to it. His notes, his lectures, you can see by his books over there. We can't even find all the things he's written. Literally. As I said, he was a really trusting and loving soul, and consequently many people took advantage of him over the years. They were looking for their own gain. They get money from him, promising to promote some business or something like that, and never came true. I was with him several times, and most people, those of us who knew him well, knew that Ormond felt deeply. He would never show it to you. But there were times when he would just cry because something wasn't working. Somebody had disappointed him. But in the end, he would always say, "But you know, they're okay." In fact, one time a gentleman took $15,000 of him to make some records, and there's one record over there. We found 50 of them. He was supposed to make 500. The man later on was arrested and convicted of robbery. And Ormond said, "But we don't know he's a crook." What do you do? I mean, you know. He encouraged me very much, and in fact, I developed a workshop on unconditional love and forgiveness based on Ormond's principles. People in his life that loved him, you've met the Ormonds. We have the four brothers. We have Michael, Doug, Alan, and Ron. Certainly the Randall Churchill and Marlene Mulder, Marlene being the closest to Ormond, and really there when he needed someone. Patrick Martin, who together he and Ormond were always looking at some new magic trick, you know. Barry Brilliant, who helped him to... Barry used to go out. He's an entrepreneur. He would take some of Ormond's crazy ideas and try to market them, you know. And Ormond had some crazy ideas. Those of us who know him knew he had some crazy ideas. That's why he was so young. He was always thinking. Mind sharp as a tack. I'm missing somebody. Oh, David Parkinson. David reignited Ormond's delight in butterflies, and together they reconstructed that butterfly collection, some of which you can see here. I was so delighted that David came along because Ormond loved that. He also loved stamp collecting, but he was getting to the point where it wasn't as exciting as butterflies. And by the way, whenever he got involved in something, he became an expert. You know what an expert is? An X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. Now, even though Ormond loved being alone and writing, he really came alive in front of people. He needed that. And in the last weeks of his life, it was very interesting because he was very weak. He had to have several blood transfusions. But he had these things to do. In fact, I was in the hospital with him, and so was Marlene, and he was saying, well, you know, I just don't know how much longer I can go on. I said, well, that's okay, Ormond. When you're ready, all you got to do is go to sleep. And he said, no, it's not that easy. There's still something left to do. I can't go. Now, you got to get this, okay? He goes in the hospital. Was it Sunday that he went in the hospital no, before that. Monday. Okay, he goes in Monday. In fact, his doctor's here. He has several blood transfusions, and he says, I have to give a lecture for the local chapter of the National Guild of Hypnotists, which meets down in San Jose in my office. And that's Thursday night. So Wednesday comes along, and I talk to the doctor, and he says, well, you look at if everything goes well, you can check him out. Now, if it doesn't go well, we'll sneak him out so he can go do it. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a doctor who would do this. But I want to tell you, this doctor is one of the best personal. He knew that Ormond lived to share. And so at 5 o'clock at night, if you can imagine checking somebody out of a hospital at 5 o'clock at night, I go up there and I get him out of the hospital and we bring him down. He has a handful of notes, which for an hour and a half he picks up periodically, fingers, and puts down again, and gives a phenomenal presentation. I mean, crystal clear. It was fantastic. Then, after that, we said, okay, look, you haven't had anything to eat. What would you like to go and eat? Now, what do you think he said? Yeah, about 10:30 at night, we showed up at the Peninsula Creamery. Yeah, we got a milkshake. Okay. The next day, Marlene took him up to Santa Rosa, and that Saturday he taught a class up there. Again, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He lived for it. Sunday, I had the privilege of talking to him, and he said, Chuck, you know, I'm just very, very tired. And I said, well, you know, when Marlene comes back, you know, tell her what you're feeling, and, you know, maybe you need to go back to the hospital for a while. So they did, and of course, we know the rest. Now, I'd like to read this if I can, but I can't see it. Just a second. That's plastic. That won't work. Thank you, Ormond. You know, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Okay. As Don Quixote jousted with windmills, so too Ormond jousted with reality, the reality of the world. His vision was and is that of a world where people truly care for each other, a world in which they do not associate with you for what they could get, but rather for what they could give and what together we could accomplish. A world where everyone, regardless of their beliefs, could accept each other, as Dag Hammarskjöld said, for the sake of their infinite possibilities. Ormond inspired me to create that workshop. He personified love, unconditional love, and forgiveness in his life. His life is a testimony to the possibility of the impossible dream. To all who knew him, who experienced his presence, he left a spark of this love. My prayer is that we learn from his demeanor, that we attempt to personify this wonderful, simplistic way of experiencing the world. Not the way it is, but the way it could be. During his lifetime, he published over 34 books, hundreds of booklets. There's 24 tapes over there. There's more than that. 3 movies. 3 movies. As Ormond would often say, don't take me or life so seriously. If Ormond was here today, I believe he would wish all of you and all his dear friends throughout the world that your lives be filled with friends, love, health, happiness, prosperity, and a lot of laughter. What we'd like to do right now is kind of give you a synopsis of Ormond's life with your permission. So, if you take a look at the screen now, that kind of captures that spirit. I think it does. Now, if this works, fire a second. It worked. Long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. No, not really. Ormond's family tree. Wait a minute. No, not that tree. That's not the tree. No. There's the tree. This was his great-grandfather. Isn't that interesting? A little like Mark Twain, huh? His grandfather, a distinguished gentleman, and of course, his father. A wizard is born, of course. There he is. There's cute. But you know what? He grew up a little bit. Now, there's an interesting look. Now, some people, I believe that J.R. Rowling really was talking about Ormond when she wrote Harry Potter. See, because I think that, oh, I'm sorry, I missed this one. That was one other one. This is the Harry Potter. Now, if you look, you can see him. You can see Harry Potter. I swear, it's got to be Harry Potter. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. He became a young magician and a professional magician, always dressed to the T's. I'll tell you, he knew how to dress. Yeah. A magician for all occasions. Oh, yes. Mysterious. Now, again, we saw a little bit of his dark side. Yeah, he can do that, too. Now, there we go. Dr. Zom is born. Dun, 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 dun. By the way, the original title was Dr. Zombie, but they thought it was a little bit too hard, so they shortened it to Zomb. Ah, yes, the Midnight Spook Shows. He pioneered in this, and very famous for it. The London Hypnotic Seance, and it's the Tower Theater, where the Seance of Wonders, the Dr. Zomb Midnight Show, they were all just fabulous, you know. Then he met the love of his life, Delight, and Delight was a delight. She came from a talented family. There she is on the slack wire. Her father is over here. Let's see if I push the right button. That's her brother. There's her sister, Anna Mae. And there she is, 1 foot. Michael, that was a strange family. But a lovely family, I'll tell you. There's Ormond and Delight in 1941. And their wedding in 1943. How to Produce Miracles was Ormond's first book. Now, think about it. The first book he ever wrote was How to Produce Miracles. If you ever get a copy of it, look at the drawings in it. They're all his original drawings. He studied psychology and commercial art in college. Ah, yes. Along came the Art Linkletter Show. Yeah, see the Niblets corn. Ah, yes. It was amazing the way he got those people to do strange things. In 1947, he wrote the Encyclopedia of Genuine Stage Hypnotism, which became the Bible in Stage Hypnotism, Atomic Magic in 1950, and A Better Life Through Using Conscious Self-Hypnosis. And this one we have never been able to find, so if somebody finds it, let us know. Okay. In 1952, he produced the show, The East Indian Miracles Show, and it was a wonderful show. He loved themes. They went touring, and this is their passport picture. All we need is numbers, and we... No. Ah, yes. Now, most of us remember the lay. And the lame jacket, was it? The shiny jacket, yes. Here it is, the sacrificial head cremation. Ah, look at that. Look at the gleam in his eye as the head goes up in smoke. I wonder if that's politically correct today. I don't know. Okay. The great window sleep. He would actually take a lady, put her to sleep, and let her sleep in a window, and then the next night they'd bring her to the theater and wake her up. Notice that he actually had the police there to ensure that she was sleeping. Or something, I don't know. Ah, yes, he toured overseas with Ron Ormond, saw many things. And there's Ron Ormond. Now, by the way, Ron Ormond, Ormond was not his last name. He actually changed his name legally to Ormond. That's the two Ormonds. 1958, a picture of Ormond and Delight. Yeah, here's another one of his simple tricks. The sword basket. You put a person in there and you throw these swords through them at all different angles. And as the blood comes out of the... No, they... they eventually let her out, or him. But notice the gleam in the eyes. Yes. The portents of something to come. Yeah, okay. 1959, Into the Strange Unknown, which was later revised as Religious Mysteries of the Orient. Ormond often said that the easiest way to write a book was cut and paste. By the way, I have several of his books that he literally cut things out of to put in other books. I don't know. He did 3 movies. This is a scene from Please Don't Touch Me. I have no idea, but he's a surprise there. Seashells. Yes, seashells were very, very interesting. In fact, when Delight and Ormond started a commercial business in seashells, she said to Ormond, "At last, something we can both love doing." Delight never appeared on stage with Ormond. She helped him backstage. She supported him tremendously. And she said when Arnold first started booking them, "Thank God for Arnold. He books us just enough shows so we can pay the bills." So here was something they could both do together, and they loved it. I'll tell you, it was like going to the seashore to go into the garage. We had more seashells there than you can imagine. Here's some of the collection. And he had them. There's a beautiful ship right there. Here's some that are lit up. Oh, aren't they beautiful? Yeah. And, of course, butterflies. There's one of the butterfly screens. They didn't commercially do the butterflies. They collected them for themselves. Butterflies, moths, insects. I can remember sitting in the garage by these big stick bugs. I'm getting the nods. Yeah, you knew those stick bugs, right? Yeah. I had to avoid looking at them because I wasn't too sure they might move. Delight and Ormond. Again, some more of their shells. They were truly devoted to each other. There it is. Okay, in 1970 we had The Art of Stage Hypnotism. 1970 again, The Secret World of Witchcraft, and Entertaining with Magic. And by the way, the Entertaining with Magic, we did a day of magic for the last 7 years. Magic for presentations. And we used, Ormond used to present, you'll see some pictures of it. He used to present the center section of that, The Psychology of Magic. Wonderful. 1970, 1975, gave lectures to schools on insects, the insects of the world. And they actually took their displays around to the schools, and Ormond was so knowledgeable, he had to tone it down for the grammar schools. But if they asked him, he could tell them the actual real name of the butterflies and the bugs. It was great. In 1976, Delight dies on August 28th. That's when I met him. And, well, we had a lot of fun together. But he had so much fun with so many people. Ormond didn't belong to any one person. He belonged to the world. 1976 till now, we perform magic and hypnotism shows, lectured at many hypnosis schools throughout the U.S. and England. 1977, he finished professional stage hypnotism. 1980, we're at a magic convention, and there's Ormond over there, Chuck Kirkham. I had hair. Oh, okay. 1981 and onward, he joined the staff of the Hypnotherapy Training Institute of Northern California. He also finished hypnotism and meditation. He met Diana England in 1981, and together they did hypnomeditation, which is a record over here. And by the way, he knew Diana when they were in school. So it was interesting. They happened to meet again in 1981. 1986, Magic and Illusions of Lee Grable. That's illustrated by Patrick Martin, and here's Lee and Helen Grable, and of course Ormond and Marlene. 1990 onward, the Association of the National Guild of Hypnotists. This is Dr. Dwight Damon, and of course Ormond. And interestingly enough, every year Dwight said to Ormond, come back to the guild as my guest. He always paid his full way out there, his hotel room and everything. And Ormond said, I can't go there and not do anything. So every year he volunteered to either give a presentation or do a hip show. This last year, he was the lead-off show on the Saturday night show. And Dwight kept saying, you don't have to do anything, Ormond. You don't have to do anything. Just come. 1995, National Guild declares the Year of McGill, and New Hampshire State Legislature declared, congratulations to Ormond McGill for 60 years of showmanship. There's a T-shirt over there that they gave him. Rabbit pulling Ormond out of a hat. 1996, he was awarded the honorary PhD in hypnotherapy by St. John's University for his contributions. 1996, the new Encyclopedia of Stage Hypnotism, which has now become the new Bible. It's now in its third printing, something like that. Seeing the Unseen. It's wonderful. In 1998, developed the Serenity Resonance Sound. 1998 to the present, he presents stage hypnotism magic shows and workshops, San Jose, Boston, London, Las Vegas with Jerry and myself. Oh, wrong button. 2003, The Secrets of Dr. Zom, the autobiography of Ormond McGill, which has now been retitled, which is now what? The Amazing Life of Ormond McGill, yes. He also published at the same time The Secrets of Stage Mind Reading, which is an interesting read. So Ormond was a magician, a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, a world traveler, a performer, an author, the man known around the world as the Dean of American Hypnotists. The question is, what's your secret to long life? Secret to long life. Beautiful. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, not just beautiful women. The secret to long life is daily chocolate mocha chip milkshakes at the Peninsula Creamery. I got to tell you a story, okay? Years ago, he put an ad in the Trellis, which is a local paper for singles down in San Jose, and the gentleman couldn't get a hold of him. And he calls me on the phone. He says, how do I get a hold of Ormond? And it was about 11:40 in the morning. And I said, do you have a Palo Alto phone book? He goes, yeah. I said, look up the Peninsula Creamery, call. He's having a chocolate mocha chip milkshake. And the guy said, come on. I said, do it. 5 minutes later, he calls me back and he said, how'd you do that? I never told him. And there he is with his chocolate mocha chip milkshake. Yes. Yep. Of course, you realize there's the fountain. By the way, if you haven't been there, please stop by on the way back. Just ask for the Ormond McGill shake. They know exactly what it is. The only thing better than having a chocolate milkshake is when you have it with friends. Yes, absolutely. And Patrick is a dear friend. Butterflies, yes, butterflies are the key thing. There's David Parkinson. He reignited. Yep. Well, wait there. I got it at the end. I got it in the end. Yes, ma'am. This is my show. You can talk later.
I'll hide in the corner.
No, you're okay. So here's just a few frames of butterflies. The fantastic colors. You can't see the colors in here. You can't because we had to do it. They're right over there. Yeah, look at them over there. The colors are fantastic. Oh, and not just butterflies, because he also had moths. I mean, just there's so many different ones. He also had insects. Ooh, bugs. And, oh, by the way, Ormond had this fantastic eye for putting them into frames, and he and David would sit down and do it, and Ormond would say, wait a minute, it would be better if you put that butterfly over there. And you know, David said most of the time he was right. Beautiful, beautiful butterflies and moths. Oh, yep. Yeah, I can spend hours and days looking at these. They're very wonderful. Now, there's one that's upside down, but that was another one. Oh, okay, he's cornered them. Oh, he liked artistic balance. Okay, so balance, that's what he wanted. Oh, aren't they beautiful? Whew. Please enjoy the butterflies. And Ormond, the butterfly that was named for Ormond, the Eclis Ormande. And there it is. Hey! By the way, the picture does not do it justice. It's so much more colorful. So please take a look at it over on the table. Magic! Ah, yes. This was taken in June, and by the way, this is Jay Marshall and Billy McComb. And Ormond was there for doing the hypnosis, but Jeff McBride was teaching kids there, and so Ormond joined in and helped teach the kids magic. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. Another good friend, Doc Hilford. Doc Hilford is a character, as you can see. You can see Ormond doesn't quite know how to take him. But that's okay. Teaching magic. You can see him here teaching a class of magic. It's great, and he just loved to bring the students around him and talk. He had that book in his hand. Yeah, he could read from it, but he never had to. He had it all upstairs. And yeah, he just well, those of us who have been in classes with Ormond know. Magic at the Olmsteds. Yes, every Christmas he came to the Olmsteds, and it didn't matter. You notice that's just a napkin. He could do magic with anything. Give him something, he'll make it disappear, especially money. Milt Larson, who is one of the primary members of the Magic Castle down in Los Angeles, Academy of Magical Arts. By the way, Ormond published a book with William Larson Sr., who was the founder of the Academy of Magical Arts, and it's over there, Radio and Nightclub Mind Reading. John Calvert and Patrick. There's and of course, yes. This next picture is interesting. That's Dr. Al Krasner, who also has a hypnosis school, had a hypnosis school. He's retired now. They got together on Ormond's 85th birthday, and they exchanged books and had a ball. This is a special picture because Ormond and Marlene really share a lot of special things, including the same birthday. Same day, same month, different years. But it's, you never have to worry about forgetting their birthday, because if you know one, you know the other. And so, notice 2 candles. That was probably appropriate. Here's Ormond teaching at the National Guild, and again, his demeanor was so marvelous. In the Hypnosis Institute, he taught a lot. And what I'm going to do is just kind of go through these so some of you can see. Ormond really just had a lot of fun. He did, of course, a hypnosis show. In the hypnosis show, he did some magic. He did some hypnosis. He put them under. And then he lectured. And you'll notice that when he lectured, he had this marvelous demeanor of being able to use his hands, his facial expressions. I wonder what that's all about. Well, maybe it's this way. That marvelous smile, that inquisitive look, the understanding that it's all a game, it's all a dance, don't take life so seriously. And Ormond and Marlene, yes, definitely soulmates for the time we're here. Ormond said, make life a playground, not your battlefield. This picture was taken on his 92nd birthday, where he had a wonderful evening, and you can tell he was ready to go. So we're grateful for the wealth of magical memories and loving gifts he left us, and are glad he has now joined his beloved wife, Delight. That's from Marlene. So Ormond and Delight together again. What happened? It's sending, yeah, he's sending me a message. Now I got to go back. There's supposed to be a picture there. Ormond, what are you doing to me? Yes, I can see them together. So that's a encapsulation of a wonderful life. I'm going to reset that back to the beginning so we can see his picture again. And I'd like to turn the next section over to Marlene for just a few minutes here.
As a closure for today, I'd like you to make sure that you preserve your own memories of dear, dear Ormond. And I was asked to do a benediction, but I think Ormond would like us to skip that part. Not because he was not spiritual, but because he was so succinct in wanting us all to be authentic of spiritual matters. One of the things that Ormond really, really conveyed to me and anyone I know that met him is that he liked us all to be original. And he wants us just to be authentic. And he had even a quote in his autobiography: "An original Van Gogh is worth millions, but a copy only $50. It was his favorite quote. And so he wants us to be authentic. And so I can't do the benediction for Ormond. So I really would like Ormond to do his own benediction in a little piece of teaching that he did in our institute. Thank you.
August.
Yeah. Of August of this year, just recently.
There's a nice Eastern sutra that I think you might find worthy of your attention. You might even want to write this down. When mind is under control, it becomes like pure crystal, reflecting equally, without distortion, the perception, the perceiver, and the perceived. It is through such mind that consciousness is knowing. And there's your whole story of advancing, that you can give your clients a wonderful help. Because once the mind becomes pure as crystal, all the difficulties, all the concern, all the worries begin to vanish. Stress is no more. And stress is the great killer. It even gives you a control over making the body function better. Mind becomes like pure crystal. And then, what has it done for you? It has tripled your perception into 3. Your perception becomes 3 times. First, the perception itself. Then you recognize that you are the one who received the perception. And finally, the perceived. That is the putting it together. What is it for? What's it about? If you got no more out of our works together, and let's say today or the class, whatever you are, in all of these studies, to advance your perception 3 times gives you 3 times more enjoyment of your life around you. Because most don't do it. But if you want to become a mastermind and master your mind, use that principle there. And incidentally, that comes from a very great master, by the way, by the name of Patanjali. And he is called the father of yoga. And some call him the Einstein of the masters themselves. Very basic and very, very direct. Anyway, let's go back to mind. How do you control the mind? Well, first of all, you've got to realize that the mind is your servant. It's not your boss. And yet so many people get in the habit of saying, well, I didn't mean to do it, but my mind made me do it. Your mind can't make you do anything unless you let your mind do something. Your mind is there for you to use. But it becomes a habit of its behavior unless you keep it under your own control. And it takes over. And the next thing you know, you have a jumble of thoughts, nothing's organized, and you're at, let's say, almost the inner mercy of confusion. And you can master that. How do you master it? do the opposite. Go silent. Just think how nice it is to go silent once in a while. How do you feel your mind? It's jabbering, 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 jabbering. When you go silent, you quiet down. Your body quiets down. And you're learning principles here that you can apply to your work with your clients. That's why I've given to you. In this first little hour or so together, let's learn about ourselves. Then we'll know how our clients are. Now, how do you control the mind? Patanjali, I admire the old sage, says the first principle is to make your mind think what you want it to think. How profound that is, and how seldom do we have that power to make it think what we want it to think, not what somebody else has told you how to think, what you should do. You get a barrage of everything coming in, do this, buy this, be another way, improve your so-and-so and so-and-so. Everything's an outside source, not you. You make your mind think what you want to think. That's the first principle. It's a good one. You're learning how to discipline your mind. The second one is make your mind think when you want it to think. You don't want it to think all the time. If you do, you can get physically tired and worn out. Because mind produces thoughts, and thoughts are energy, and energy makes your body do this and do that and do all kinds of things, and you get exhausted. You only get exhausted if you control it. Make your mind think when you want it to. Third principle, make your mind stop thinking when you want it to stop thinking. And that's what you do at night when you go to sleep. If you don't make your mind stop thinking, you are not going to go to sleep. Because you keep thinking how much I have to go to sleep. You go to sleep by just going to sleep. You go into hypnosis by just going to hypnosis. Not by making, well, let's see now, I have to do this and this and this and this. You'll never go to sleep that way. You had to go to sleep by making the effort without effort. That's artistry. Can you imagine a great piano player playing a concert, making an effort to play? If he makes effort to play, he's not a great artist. He's just an amateur learning to be an artist. It takes time. It's got to become ingrained automatically inside yourself. It's just an experience of how it's going to be. Make the effort without effort. Very important principle. I told it to some people, well, that's impossible. You can't do anything without effort. You put effort on it, you're going to have an artistry. You can't imagine that piano player, or you can't imagine a great dancer thinking every moment, now let's see, I have to do this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. You'll never reach it unless it becomes automatic. Same way in the separate form, suppose that you have been working with a computer or typing. If you have to think this each time, you get no place. It's slow, 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 slow. It's only when you learn it so it's instinctive inside yourself that you become a master of it. So make your mind think what you want it to think. Make your mind think when you want it to think. Make your mind stop thinking when you don't want it to think. And the last one, become a witness to your thoughts. And that's very, very interesting. Have you ever become a witness to your thoughts? You sit back and you got a TV screen or a movie screen in front of you. And all the thoughts that you have, you see projected out. And you like this thought, you don't like this thought, and so forth. Then you can be selective, and then you can become a genius. Because the power of your mind can take you up to the height of genius. Use it, or it can take you down to the depths of insanity. It's the case. All right. Those 4 principles are how to control the mind. Now, a further understanding. Mind has 5 main functions. Now there's one more group I want to give you before we go on. And that is, how do you have a peaceful mind? You will find when you become hypnotherapist, which I presume is what you're here to learn how to do, that your clients do not, in many cases, have a peaceful mind. If they had a peaceful mind, they wouldn't be coming to you to help them get a peaceful mind. So there are 4 principles that are helpful in having a peaceful mind. And you can put these into suggestion formulas. When your client's in hypnosis in a receptive state of subjectivity, or if you wish to use the term, of subconscious mind state, which merely means that you are below the level of critical mind. Critical mind is one that limits you. Non-critical mind, beyond critical mind, has infinite powers that you haven't even begun to touch yet. Remarkable. But anyway, in this last little one that I want you to have for a few moments or two is simply this. 4 ways to have a peaceful mind. First of all, be happy for the successful. Be happy for the successful. Be glad that somebody else won the lottery, got a lot of money. Well, I should have won. Well, you haven't got a peaceful mind, have you? But if you have a peaceful mind, you're glad that something. You see, the supply is infinite. There's no limitations on it at all. It's how you happen to fall into destiny or fate or whatever you wish to call it. And that is simply this. Have a peaceful mind. Be happy for the successful. Just think what that means. Whatever person comes on, you don't challenge it and say, well, gee whiz, you're lucky. I'm never lucky that you are. No, I'm just glad that you were successful. And then you have a peaceful mind. The second one is, have compassion for the miserable. And that simply means you don't become miserable with the miserable. If a person is miserable, and you'll find you only get a lot of that in your technical work. If they're miserable, you don't commiserate with them and say, well, I know you poor dear, I know just how you feel. So miserable, so miserable. That doesn't do any good. You are compassionate, you're understanding about their misery, and you help them overcome it. But you're not going to become miserable yourself. If you do, you will find this work the most exhausting work in the world. Because you just can't take all the stuff your clients are going to give you. You give your best when you're working. And then after you complete that, you go on to another activity. Might be another client. Might be something totally different. But you have to be like the physician. He treats his patient. He gives his best help, his best counsel, his best advice. But when it's over, you gotta drop it. Otherwise, you can't stay in the business. I had a friend, very good doctor. I knew him very well. He said, Ormond, he said to me, I am a cancer specialist. I make friendship with all my patients. The next thing I know, they're gone. And it's just overwhelming to me. I'm losing friends, losing friends, losing friends. He wasn't, no peaceful mind. What did he do? He had to leave the field and go to X-ray. Work in the lab. That was all right. He could handle that, but he couldn't handle the other. But you can, if you use the principles. Have compassion for the miserable, and that's all. And then the third one, appreciate the virtuous. Appreciate the virtuous. Oh my heavens. So-and-so says he's virtuous, goes to church, puts in a little tithe and so forth, storms off the bar drinking. Not virtuous. But appreciate that at least he does some things that are heading toward virtue. Everybody's human. Everybody has their ups and downs and their ways. But what he does that's virtuous, appreciate it. At least he's moving in that direction. May take a lifetime after lifetime to finally achieve pure virtue. But appreciate the virtue. And the last one is a tricky one. Don't dwell on evil. Oh, this is a bad world. Everything's going to hell. Oh, it's terrible. Evil, evil is, I can't stand this, I can't stand that. It's so bad. If you dwell on evil, you're never going to have a peaceful mind. So I've given you 4 principles here on how to have a peaceful mind. Take them, use them, give them to your clients. Think what it means to have this in a suggestion formula that you present in hypnosis beyond a critical mind that says, well, this can't be. I can't do this, I can't do that. The subconscious is accepting. It accepts the principles of having a peaceful mind. Use them. Make them valuable. Make them useful to yourself.
Well, my goodness. Thank you for coming. Wishing you all peaceful minds. Wishing Ormond a peaceful mind. Ormond, wherever you roam. And let that peace hang here for a moment tangibly, to know that you can claim your Ormond deep, deep in the peace of your heart, exactly where you want to put him, because he will show up in your life many times, I bet. Good night, everybody. We will be around here. You can mingle for a little bit and enjoy each other. Let's all be friends in Ormond. Thank you very much.